Hey friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and I've been focusing quite a bit on the Ataya deck, and comparing it with, by now you've seen my comparisons with Rider-Waite-Smith, with the Thoth deck by Crowley, and other Ataya decks published by other people besides Marco. So it's a understatement to say how moved I've been by Marco's beautiful deck. It's prompted me to pull out all those other decks to compare it to it. And I've had 2 other publications of the Ataya, and I never was motivated before. So it just speaks on the beauty of Marco's publication. Anyway, today I thought I would do something a little bit different. I have done videos on astragyromancy before, otherwise known as astragalomancy. Not words that roll off my tongue. I typically will just say spirit dice. But it comes from a ancient practice, probably one of the earliest forms of divining or trying to make meaning or sense of things, that occur in our world. Aside from like looking at the clouds and just like seeing things in the clouds, or looking in a pool of water and imagining or visualizing images in water. I think one of the first perhaps fabricated forms might have been divining with dice, whether they were numeric dice or letter dice. And they probably weren't dice at all. They were probably bones or pebbles or whatever that were rolled, and however they turned up within a prescribed designation of meanings for each of the dice. Folks were able to interpret what they saw. Now, for this purpose, what I have been doing for years is using a set of dice, letter dice, that I got prefabricated with a game of Boggle. My children had Boggle as kids, and I kept the game. And I figured if this collection of dice was suitable for Boggle in allowing individuals to come up with a decent set of, a decent level of words, when you toss them. If it was good enough for Boggle, it's good enough for me. So I just took the 16 dice from a Boggle game, put them in a container that was used, which housed a fountain pen that I bought. I like to repurpose things, so I kept this container until I felt as though I could use it for something else, and I did. It's a perfect container for my dice, and I've used these dice many times for a variety of purposes. Typically, if I have a question, like say, for example, I wanted advice from one of my parents. And I imagine that this is a good opportunity to once again express how I feel about receiving messages from beyond. Now, this is just my idea. It's not the truth. I've never heard it from anyone else. So this is just coming from me, okay? But, excuse me. It occurs to me that just because we want to contact someone who's lived before us doesn't mean they're available to us, right? Depending on what the truth or the reality of what happens to us. It's possible that a person could be reincarnated. It's possible that the ancestor that I've been trying to reach has been reincarnated into me, or somebody else altogether. It's also possible, and some of you who have seen my videos on what happens to us when we pass on, and again, this is just my thought process. It's not the truth. But my thought process is, what if when we pass away, we just jump to another dimension or another reality, and, if we're The moment that we're killed in this realm, we just continue our lives in another realm, and we have no idea that we expired in this one. You see what I'm saying? So if we're coexisting in infinitely different universes, how are we ever going to tap into? Like, what if somebody's trying to tap into who I was in a previous realm? I don't know. I don't know. They're trying to reach me. Do you see what I'm saying? So in those cases, really when I try to tap into the essence of someone who has passed on, I will always preface it when I speak or when I request my request. I'll ask the universe, if the person is not available, if the essence of the individual is not available to speak on this, then please, dear universe, you tell me, you speak on their behalf and tell me what it is that I need to know regarding my question. I don't think we need to know everything, right? And so I always preface it with the universe to tell me what I need to know. What is it that is important that I know? Not necessarily what the truth is, because maybe the truth isn't any of my business, But if I do need to know something, or if the whole of society would be enriched by knowing something, then that's the information that I request that the universe supply. So today, I'm just asking, I'm going to use these dice to demonstrate how I use them. I use them regularly. And I think I've only done one video or so. But I think it's an interesting study. I've done one recently. I videoed it too on what happened in Idaho. I haven't released that video yet. I'm not sure if I'll release it before this or after this. I'm not sure, but it was kind of uncanny what the results were. But today I'm not going to do anything trying to contact any spirits or anyone that has passed on. Today I'm just going to ask the dice because I'm very concerned about the condition of my country. I'm concerned politically. I'm concerned about, not just politically, but, there might be things that, what's the word, environmentally, I'm concerned. I'm concerned on a number of levels about the condition of my country, and I'm from the United States. So I think I'm going to ask the universe, and I'll go into my meditative place when I do this, to ask the universe what I need to know, or what we collectively need to know as world citizens, or even just citizens of the United States, what really we need to be focusing on, and what the next things that will be problematic for the United States. Okay, so let me flip the camera and roll the dice and see what we get. Now, as far as supplies that you need, I found it was made my life a lot easier when I had something to collect the dice in, and that would contain it from rolling all over the floor and all that. So I found that this little contraption works very well. Something to put the dice in to give it enough room to shake it. I found that, this, of course, if I shook it till the cows come home, I wouldn't get any variation because they would just stay in place. And then a tablet, and then a pen to write down what I observe. And I would encourage you, when I flip these dice, and I'll give you time to copy the letters, to do this exercise along with me and see what you get, keeping the question that I had in mind. Now, as I mentioned, I went off camera and I already, mixed not the cards, I mixed the dice with the question that I already formulated with you. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to itemize which the dice are. We have a W. Let's put the vowels and the consonants together. So we have E, A, another E, and an O. Now the U it's specifically only being used with the Q. So it's not a free agent. The U is not a free agent. It's only in association with the Q. And a Y. So the only vowel that's missing, freestanding, would be the U and the I. Okay, so we have one A, two E's, an O, and a Y. We have a W, a T, a P, a QU, N, M, two S's, and two T's, and an R. So it looks as though we have a useful assortment of vowels and letters. Remember, the objective here is to look for things or events or conditions that Americans should be concerned about. Okay? Things that we should concern ourselves with. So let me, I usually put a time limit on what I do. I usually give it like 10 to 15 minutes. And I'm going to time myself with my watch. and then I'll turn, and I, if you want to get involved with this with me, it'll be fun. Oh, something fell, my pen. And then I'll come back and I'll share the words that I got and the phrases that I got. What I try to do is look for sentences. I'll look for individual words first. I look for individual words. I look for pronouns too, like I, you, he, we, that kind of thing. And because that will give us a subject, right? And then I look for phrases. After I have my words, I try to put the words together to create phrases. Okay? So that's my process. Okay, friends, now I gave myself about 20 minutes to find as many words or phrases as I could find, or sentences even. And then, for all those things, as I found words and as I found phrases, I tried to construct sentences. So I gave myself about a total of about 20 minutes. I probably could have gotten more, but I give myself a time limit. The universe knows I'm giving myself a time limit. And so the answer needs to come to me within that 20-minute period or whatever frame I give myself. Sometimes I'll say, I'm putting it out there all day. I'll come back and forth all day and look, in those cases, then I have all day. But I also will look for words related to the tarot because that's how I roll. And I came up with a few words related to the tarot. I came up with tower and I came up with star. So, and those two words are kind of, in the context of the tarot, we think of tower, we think of destruction. And when we think of star, we think of hope. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean that that's the only application we can use here, but I thought that was interesting. Now, as far as sentences go, the only preposition I found was we. I think my, I don't know if my is considered a preposition or not. I did find my, but the only clear-cut preposition was we. There's no they, there's no he, there's no she, there's no I. So I started putting sentences together using that preposition. We want money, power. Man wants money, power. Stormy was in there. Stormy wants money, power. Man wants stormy power. We stop power. We stop man. Stormy stops man. Man stops stormy. East meets west wars. Press. So that could mean, the press, right? We have the word matters, and whenever I see like double letters, like double S's or double T's, for example, I'll look, it's like, well, we're getting double of those letters, so maybe I should look for words that have the presentation of a double T or a double S. In which case I have matters. Was the only one. Was the only one that I found utilizing the two T's. Did I find anything that oppress utilized two S's? Weep, wept. So weep utilizes the two E's. We weep, we wept. The most chilling thing I found was tower repeats. Now remember, the question was, what do people in my country need to concern ourselves with? What is the thing, the next thing that we need to be paying attention to? And so I think it's interesting. I didn't limit it to politics or science or geographic or even the, ecology or anything like that. I just for open all season, right? So the things that popped up seem to be political and ecological, right? Because we have, Stormy, anybody here knows that Stormy might reference Stormy Daniels. Now remember, just like when we do a tarot reading, we're interpreting the cards to answer a question. And so I'm interpreting the words here to answer a question. For example, the word poem and poetry pop up. Now I included those because I want to look at them, but I didn't find anything using poem or poetry to help with the question. I was looking for natural disasters like earthquake, where there's no H, even though we have the Q and there's no K. So there's I wasn't finding natural disasters like that. I was finding man-made disasters, people who want money and people who want power. Or East meets West war. Now there's two wars in east of us. We have what's going on with Russia and Ukraine, and then we have what's going on over in Gaza and Israel. East meets West wars. Well, I guess we have to concern ourselves about what's going on over there because surely they affect us here, our well-being. Now we have to maintain our own democracy. It's one thing to be generous and kind elsewhere, and I think we have a duty. However, we have a duty to ourselves as well, and I think there's a happy medium. Our primary focus needs to be our own safety and our own freedom. If we're defending something that infringes upon our own safety and infringes upon our own democracy, that might not be a good thing. We near treaty. We want treaty. We stop power. We stop man. We stop men. Men stops man. And I think I mentioned already, man stops Stormy and Stormy stops man. We press matters. I also put together words that have similar meaning, like money and power. Treaty, treats, weep and wept, sweet and sweat. They're not the same word, but I mean, they're similar in spelling. Sweet and sweat, near, nears, test, testy, once, press, west, one stops, east. I'm just reading the words I got. Yearns, years. But again, I try to put together phrases, I try to put together sentences. It's good to have words, because then when you see the words, you look for the sentences that you could build with that, especially if it seems appropriate. We want money, we want power. Man wants money, man wants power. That kind of thing. And then stormy, on the surface seems like stormy weather, right? But in the context of the other words that we're seeing, stormy makes me think of Stormy Daniels. And then when I see things like East meets West wars, tower repeats. That really concerns me. So if anything, like if I'm looking for warnings to concern ourselves with, I leave this session with this thought: East meets West wars, tower repeats. So that's my take on it, But all the other words and phrases that I found in here, you take in heed. But if I'm reading it in the context of the question, I think that those two phrases are the most significant that I get from this. Oh well. Until next time, friends. Peace, stay well, be kind, and do no harm.